It's 8 o'clock. This is the UK Tonight. Coming up, counter-terror police investigating the death of Anne Widdecombe say that she was killed in a targeted attack.
We are still working to understand the extent of any planning or preparation and the motivation that sits behind that attack. And I do not want to comment further on this at this stage of our inquiries.
Also tonight, 24 hours away from destiny. We take a look at how England are preparing for their World Cup showdown with Argentina. Excitement is building for that game, which could see the Three Lions seal their first final appearance since 1966. But fans are complaining that they're being priced out of tickets. A landmark move for victims of injustice, as Andy Burnham says the new Hillsborough Law will shift the balance of power between the people and the state. The £10 billion bill for pandemic waste. The COVID inquiry reveals just how much public money was spent on unused PPE. And former Radio 2 presenter Scott Mills is named as the BBC's top earner, earning £750,000 before he was sacked over sex offence claims. All that to come and much more on the UK Tonight. Good evening. Counter-terror police have said that former MP Anne Widdecombe was killed in what they're calling a targeted attack. Speaking outside New Scotland Yard this afternoon, Assistant Commissioner Lawrence Taylor said that officers were pursuing multiple lines of inquiry. A 28-year-old white British suspect has been arrested on suspicion of commission, preparation or instigation of acts of terrorism, as well as on suspicion of murder. Sky's Dan Whitehead has our first report tonight.
6 days on, another significant update in this fast-shifting murder inquiry. After counter-terrorism police took the lead, new evidence has emerged over the nature of the attack.
It is clear that this was a targeted attack. We are still working to understand the extent of any planning or preparation and the motivation that sits behind that attack. It is important to remember that this is a murder investigation following a brutal attack on a 78-year-old lady in her own home. I want to ensure that our work is conducted sensitively and considers the impact of what has happened.
There are now multiple lines of inquiry, including digital forensic examinations. Police have also been given more time to hold the suspect in custody, an extra 7 days from the moment that he was rearrested for terrorism offences. They will, of course, be questioning the 28-year-old and also continuing the forensic searches at the property in Rotherham. Evidence gathering continues in Devon too, the significant police cordon still in place. In the immediate aftermath of the attack, Devon and Cornwall police repeatedly said there was no intelligence to suggest terrorism. The Police and Crime Commissioner saying today she is confident the force provided a substantial and professional response.
There's been quite a bit of commentary about the way that Devon and Cornwall police have communicated during the early stages of this case. But as the Home Secretary said yesterday, it is not unusual that in a fast-paced investigation, more information comes to light and changes the nature or the character of what the police are dealing with.
Anne Widdecombe appeared on TV on the morning of her death. Whether that motivated the attacker is a line of inquiry. The question of safety of politicians past and present is back in the spotlight, while the investigation into this targeted attack continues. Dan Whitehead, Sky News.
And more on that story on our website, skynews.com. Well, we are now less than 24 hours away from kick-off in the Three Lions semi-final showdown with Argentina. A chance for England's men to reach their first World Cup final since 1966, of course. Well, let's head out to Atlanta. Our sports presenter Jackie Bell-Trow is there, flying in especially for this semi-final, Jackie. And just talk to me about the vibes, because you've come in hot and the temperature's hot there as well. Talk to me about how the fans are feeling ahead of this.
Oh, do you know what, SJ, you're right. I literally have come in hot, and it is really hot here. In fact, it's really, really sweaty sort of weather, and it's been raining. I think it's going to be very similar tomorrow night for the semi-final against Argentina. And yeah, how exciting. You know, playing an old foe where England generally don't come off best, will never come off best in knockout matches, because we all remember the hand of God, even if you were too young to remember it. Everyone knows about the hand of God goal that Maradona scored in '86 and then went on to score the goal of the century just moments later, knocking England out 2-1. And then, of course, going out on penalties at France '98 when David Beckham got sent off, and with the leg flick on Diego Simeone. So loads of history in this match. Loads of Argentina fans here in this Atlanta fan zone, as are England fans, because don't forget, they're going to be playing tomorrow night for the right to play the winner of France against Spain, which is not long till kick-off now. And I've got a couple of fans with me, really looking forward to it. So, a couple of Argentina fans here, Camilla and her dad Marcelo. Now, I'm not going to talk to Marcelo because he doesn't speak any English, but Camilla, you're all decked out in your Argentine shirts. What are you expecting tomorrow night? I'm assuming you think that Messi's going to do it for you.
Yes, Messi and the entire team. We are really supportive with the Argentinian team. We really support them, so we are really happy and expecting for the best to happen, but anything can happen, so we are still there, pausing and waiting.
But you're from Buenos Aires. What are people saying back home about this World Cup and how your team has played? Because in England, we're looking at Argentina thinking they've struggled a little bit at times.
Agree, and we know Argentina is not playing as we would expect and as they would expect, but the team's heart is stronger than that, and I think it's like they are trying their best, so we acknowledge that they are not being the best right now, but we support them and we think they can make it, honestly. So,
well, you've got the famous Argentinian shirt on, but they're not going to wear that shirt tomorrow. They're going to wear the dark blue shirts because they want to get in England's head, or what? Why?
No, well, it's because it's something on the history. We all know Maradona and the history that England and Argentina had. It's been a while since we have this type of match, and never with Messi on the team. Yeah. So it's something on the history, and we want to see Messi with that shirt, right? So I think that's the why.
Well, you know what? Enjoy the match, but just don't enjoy it too much.
Too much. Whoever is the best will win. So
we've got an England fan here. As well, there's plenty of England fans who are coming in town bit by bit. So this is Patrick. He is English. Let's come over here. Thank you guys very much. And this is Cooper. So Patrick, tell me, have you got a ticket for tomorrow? Because you guys have been to Miami already and watched them there play Norway.
Yes, we were lucky enough to get tickets to that match, and my wife, we've got a 2-week-old at home, but she's allowed us to extend the trip to come here, but we have to go home if we get the win here, because then I would have spent more of my daughter's life away from her than with her. So we haven't got the tickets, but we've got a few options, so we'll get one later today, and we're looking forward to tomorrow, aren't we?
What are you paying for the tickets, if you don't mind me asking? Because on the official FIFA website, there's something like £7,400 is the cheapest today. There are still some available. You can go. What are you being offered?
Yeah, the resale websites have been pretty reliable. Around £2,000 you can get a ticket. So yeah, that's our backup option. But we've got the feelers out for a couple other cheaper face value tickets too. So we're holding out to see if one of those come through.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So Cooper, tell me, how exciting has it been travelling with your dad and following England winning?
So excited.
So exciting. Who's your favourite player, Bim?
Harry Kane.
Harry Kane. You keep changing your mind, don't you? It was Bukayo Saka a few minutes ago, and he's a Spurs fan, so I don't know how that works out.
Sanctioned off air.
So, how fun has this been? The whole trip, the whole vibe.
Oh, it's been unbelievable. We met so many English fans. We stayed down in South Beach, and we had the Norwegians doing the road just out on the water there, and yeah, it's been unbelievable. We went to the baseball, and he got a match ball into the crowd. So it's been one hell of a trip. I hope he appreciates it, because it's not cheap. So
let me tell you, they don't. Thanks very much, guys. Cooper, you enjoy yourself tomorrow. I think you're living the dream. Do you want to high five me?
High five.
Yeah, good man. Good man.
Who's going to win?
England.
Who's going to win? England.
Okay, well, I mean, it's a great opportunity. Thank you, guys. As the Argentinian fans said, Argentina have not been what they expected, but they do have Messi. Messi's never played against England before, and they do have this brilliant record. 5 semi-finals at World Cups, 5 wins. But apart from that, it's going to be a very, very good night tomorrow.
It certainly is, Jackie. We can't wait. How cute was Cooper? Core memories there for father and son. And I know what he means about who's your favourite player. 1 minute it's Kane, then it's Jude Bellingham. I mean, you know, this England team, what can they produce against Argentina? Let's talk to Rob Harris, who has been following England's progress blow by blow. And Rob, it was interesting there, the fans talking to Jackie, the Argentina fans, saying that, you know, Argentina haven't been at their best so far in this tournament. They're hoping that they will be tomorrow night. But England as well, against Norway, perhaps not at their best. And England fans will be hoping it will click for them tomorrow night.
Yes, England haven't had it easy. When it started with a 4-2 win over Croatia, it seems, well, maybe there's quite a lot of attacking spark in this team to see off opponents, but then there was the 0-0 against Ghana, struggling against Panama as well, having to come from behind to beat DR Congo 2-1 with late goals from Harry Kane. Then the Mexico City game, what a resilient performance that was. That's probably the one that has emboldened the team, giving them the real confidence, seeing out that game with 10 men, carried into Norway, and that was a real struggle in the heat of Miami, but they've found a way to progress, and that's why they're into this semi-final. Just the third time they've been in a semi-final since lifting the trophy in 1966, and we know how sadly the 1990 semi-final went, the 2018 semi-final went, really trying to finally make it to the final for the first time since the glory days of Wembley. And Thomas Tuchel has managed to turn them into this winning side, to see out results, to carry them through. And it hasn't been easy for Argentina. The struggles against Egypt, having to come behind, really being taken a distance by newcomers Cape Verde as well. So that will give England some hope too. England are now on the way here from Kansas City, their training base, and the news is that 25 of the 26 players of the squad did train. Only Jordan Henderson, who's broken his arm, is missing. Jarrell Kwanzaa, defender, is ruled out through suspension still. The hope will be Reece James can feature after his injuries at right back. So all preparations underway here in the Fan Festival in the heart of Atlanta, where they're watching Spain against France, and we're starting to see a lot of England fans arrive. I'm told England could be supported by over 30,000 fans here, both those travelling in and US-based England fans too.
Yeah, plenty of fans supporting them in fan zones like the one that you're in, Rob. But talking about the team, let's talk about tickets, because we've been hearing a lot today about how actually, given the significance of tomorrow's game, it's a surprise it's not actually a sellout, but that's because of ticket prices. Argentina versus England World Cup tickets more expensive than France against Spain. What's the official word on what's happening with tickets and sales for tomorrow?
Well, this is a World Cup where ticket resales are officially allowed. It's the law here. You can sell them, unlike in the UK, at a profit. So FIFA has its own resale exchange site. It takes a 15% cut, 50% to the buyer as well. So it's a really problematic issue in terms of the fact that some of these tickets can be officially listed at over $1 million. Now, we don't know if any of them are traded for that, because you can name your own price, but it means people are seeking thousands and thousands for these tickets, having snapped them up early. There are some available at $60 that FIFA did make available for fans of each of the teams in each of the games, but they are few and far between. But so many fans we speak to here have spent so many hundreds of pounds, so many thousands of pounds to be here. These days don't come around often. We think because there have been so many semi-finals now under Gareth Southgate, the back-to-back Euros finals, the semi-final in 2018, that these days come around regularly, but this is only England's this is England's fourth semi-final since winning the World Cup in 1966. So, you know, these days don't come around that often in terms of it's only a third World Cup semi-final. There have been the Euro semi-finals as well, but since 2018, 4 semi-finals, as many as the previous teams in entire history. But fans are just determined to be here at any cost, it seems, that they can afford it.
Yeah, it'd be such a shame to see empty seats in that stadium tomorrow night, simply because fans can't afford to get in. Let's stay in Atlanta. Rob, thank you. Where, as we were just talking, some England fans facing sky-high ticket prices. And frustrating because they're just being priced out. Well, let's speak now to Thomas Concannon from the Football Supporters Association, who's out there in the US following England. I mean, Thomas, just how frustrating has it been, this ticket situation for England fans?
Oh, it is incredibly frustrating. We should be backed by thousands more fans who should be here, who just simply couldn't afford it. And we are at the stage of the tournament now where the prices are through the roof. People are paying a fortune. We've already spoken to quite a few today who have just bit the bullet and decided to pay it because it's a semi-final against Argentina. But yeah, I mean, there's so many more should be here, and it is a massive shame that they aren't.
Yeah, don't name any names because we don't want to get them in trouble with their families if they're spending perhaps more than they said they would on this trip. But, you know, what kind of prices were they telling you that they paid?
So around about the sort of £2,000 mark up towards the $3,000 mark. So that was someone that just probably got lucky, actually, in comparison to some of the prices at the moment. It's crazy that even fans are that desperate to pay that. But yeah, it just goes to show how big this game is for supporters and how much they are willing to pay. But yeah, I mean, it's staggering amounts of money.
You do have to wonder what will be left in the bank account if England get to the final.
Well, that's it. I mean, you have Rob mentioned there the $60 tickets that some supporters have. We have about 600 of those for the final. The next price after that is $4,000. So you know, the ones that have those $60 tickets are obviously incredibly lucky. After that, it's just an absolute fortune. I don't know how anyone can afford that, but they do. You know, the England fans are incredibly loyal. But it sort of goes to show as to why we didn't sell out our full allocation as well. It's hardly a surprise.
Yeah. I mean, some fans are going to be in a position where they cannot afford to pay over £4,000. I mean, that's going to be a conservative estimate, isn't it? If it's England in the final against either France or Spain, that is a massive, massive game. So it's going to be, most of the tickets are going to be well above £4,000. That's going to be some really tough decisions for England fans because some will pay it even though they can't afford it.
Well, it very much is once in a lifetime, isn't it, that we are in the situation that we haven't been in since 1966. So it's a difficult one. I understand why England fans would pay it, but yeah, I don't know many fans that we deal with and we work with that can afford that. You know, as I say, we haven't sold out our allocation. It's hardly a surprise. It's just incredible amounts of money, and fair play to the ones that have done it. But I think there'll be a few England games that they'll be missing after this.
Yeah, I mean, I've signed off on a lot of decisions saying, oh, it's once in a lifetime, you only live once. But I mean, that is a whole other conversation. £4,000 above for a ticket. But as you said, this is genuinely perhaps once in a lifetime, once in a generation. And Thomas, talk to me about the overall experience that you've had, because so many England fans have gone out there spending a considerable amount of money just on the outside experience. So the fan parks, being part of these cities in Mexico and America, what has that been like for England fans?
It's been incredible, and I must say that the backing that we've had from the Americans as well has been fantastic. They've really topped up our numbers inside stadiums, but fans have done it completely differently, as you can quite imagine. You've had fans that have come back and forth from the UK. You've had fans that have been here for 7 weeks now, or six to 7 weeks now, because of the friendlies that we had at the start of the tournament. So there's variations of how people have done this, but people have genuinely just come out here to be part of it, realising they aren't going to spend the money on a ticket. They can't afford that, but they're here. They've paid for the flights and accommodation. They'll go and watch it in the bars and in the fan parks, and just to be a part of the atmosphere, because the atmosphere has been absolutely fantastic, to be fair. We've gotten really well with the locals. We've had some great trips so far, including Mexico City, which was just unbelievable. So, yeah, I mean, fans genuinely are enjoying this. They're just going home, obviously, in a probably a lot shorter money than what they had before they came out.
Yeah, the rest of the summer is going to be pretty low-key. Well, look, this party may well continue for a few more days yet. Thomas, what's your plan for tomorrow night's semi-final and Sunday, fingers crossed?
So I am one of those lucky ones that has those $60 tickets, which is obviously a godsend. But it's
well done.
But so luckily for me, I'll be in the stadium in the England end. But it'll be just fingers crossed. I think we'll still be outnumbered by the Argentinians. They obviously travel really well. But we've just got to make as much noise as possible, back the lads, and hopefully we can make it in New York on Sunday. Otherwise, it's another trip back to Miami, which for my skin is not great. So fingers crossed it's going back to New York.
I'm with you on that, factor 50 all the way, but sometimes it's just not enough, is it? Listen, yeah. Thomas, thank you. Thomas Concannon there, Football Supporters Association representative. Really good to hear from you tonight, and enjoy the game when we get there tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure. Well, earlier on today, I spoke to former England defender Sol Campbell. He knows a thing or two about Argentina. He actually played in that epic World Cup knockout game between England and Argentina in France '98, a game you may well remember that England lost on penalties. Well, Sol Campbell, here we go again. England versus Argentina in the knockout stages of a major tournament. Do you think it's going to be different this time?
Hopefully, yeah. It's going to be a blockbuster. It's a blockbuster, yeah, waiting to happen. It's anticipation. I can't wait. I'm sure all the England fans out there just can't wait for this game. There's a lot of stuff behind this game, and history goes way back, countless things. But no, the lads are in good shape. But it's going to be a blockbuster. Yeah, I mean, you have a part in that checkered history between England and Argentina, that infamous game in France '98, Beckham sending off, England losing on penalties, you having a potentially match-winning goal disallowed. It's a hot-tempered affair, shall we say. You talk about antics. How important is it that England keep a cool head tomorrow night? First of all, that still hurts me today, that disallowed goal, because I still don't understand why. I think if there's VAR around, I don't think the referee could wriggle out of that situation. But it's about cool heads as well, for sure. We need Jude Bellingham's mum to do the pep talk, don't we, before the match? What was it she said to Jude before the Norway game? Her advice was, watch your language, watch your tackles, watch your face and watch your emotions. Because Argentina, you call them antics. We had the directors of a documentary film, The Match, on the programme last night. I know you were a contributor to that documentary. And they said that there is magic involved in what Argentina do on the pitch. They call it magic. I personally would call it winding England up. That's going to play a part, isn't it? Because there is a feeling that Argentina on the field get away with a lot that perhaps other teams like England wouldn't. Yeah, you got to be careful. You got to understand that, Argentina might probably get the referee kind of decisions going their way. This is where you got to, first of all, go to a referee and kind of warn to him, and hey, just be nice to the referee and try to turn him within the game, because he might have a stance. Yeah, he has to be neutral, but you just never know. They seem to get the rub of the green all the time. So you got to be, able to capture the referee and turn his views, towards having a balanced game. There was talk from the manager, Thomas Tuchel, and the captain, Harry Kane, after the Norway match about England finding that next level, that next gear for this game with Argentina. Can they win against Argentina with a performance like the one they put in against Norway? They could definitely win with the performance they played against Mexico, for sure. For sure. I think, I'll be honest, Norway probably will go away from that game thinking they could have won it. I think everybody can agree. A lick of paint, a crossbar, a push here and there. People talking about cables. Norway probably would feel another day they would have won that game. So you've got to count your lucky stars. Yeah. But there's always a bit of luck involved in the World Cup, isn't there? Yeah, you need to good players. Good players, which we have got, but you need that little bit of luck and make your own luck in the game. And a performance like Mexico, I think that's the performance can beat Argentina. Sure. Oh, well, let's hope we see that tomorrow night. Last question for you, Sol. Where will you be watching this vital game? And if England do make it through, who would you like to see them face in the final? Well, I've been here with my team for Legends Corner, my podcast that I'm building up. Been to Boston, watched the French and Morocco team. That was really good. And now I'm back into New York, and I'm just kind of doing watch parties, and I'm just watching all the games in and around different scenarios, activations I'm doing in New York. It's been great. I was at Washington Square Park and do some interviews there. It's really, and just enjoying. And also I played a little bit of football. I just randomly walked up to these guys who are playing football. It's called Bauer Park. I'm not too sure. Did they know who you were, Sol? In the beginning, no. In the beginning, no. But then obviously after they started kind of knowing who I... They were like, this guy can play. Yeah, play. Well, a couple of tackles as well. So it was funny, and then photographs afterwards. And it's just cool. It's New York. It's nice, and I just felt the moment, and I just joined in. So
well, you're in amongst the fans for the match itself, which is great. But who will England face in the final, do you think? Should they get through? That's the big question, isn't it? Who do you want to see?
France. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be France versus England.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. Sol Campbell, really good to see you. Thanks so much. I think it's going to be Spain. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? Right, still to come here on the UK Tonight. A rewiring of the state. Andy Burnham on how the Hillsborough Law will help victims of injustice.
Hear that whistle and that crunch. We know that they're coming from the south of the city where there's a column of Russian armoury. I'm Alex Crawford and I'm Sky's special correspondent based in Istanbul. Look at that sheet of flames, and that has happened within minutes, and now it's coming from both sides and it's moving this way.
The Hillsborough Law, legislation designed to prevent cover-ups like that seen in the aftermath of the 1989 disaster, has passed through the House of Commons this evening. Speaking in Westminster in the past hour, the Hillsborough family said it was a monumental moment.
What a great win for the people of this country. That's the main thing. It's not about Hillsborough families, it's not about any of us. It's the likes of Steve and people like that, and people who are still fighting to get truth, to get justice. There's so many, we've got so many within the Hillsborough Law group in the campaign who's fought for so long and still fighting to try and get the truth of what happened to their loved ones. And I think today, what people have got to realise, how monumental this Hillsborough Law will be. It's not, it's huge, really, because I'm hoping now it helps more than anything people who need funding, especially in state-related deaths, that they will get a legal aid.
The debate was noteworthy for another reason, with Sir Keir Starmer making what could be his final significant parliamentary speech as Prime Minister, even as his successor, Andy Burnham, spoke for the first time since his return to Westminster. Both argued that the Hillsborough Law spoke to a deeper problem in British society.
This is not just a bill for the 97, although it is that. It is a bill for every single working person in this country. Because, let's face it, there is a class element to this. time and again, the cry for justice was ignored by the British state because of who the victims are.
As we pass this momentous piece of legislation, a piece of legislation that will change the way this country thinks and works about justice, it truly is a rewiring of the state and a passing of power from the authorities to the hands of ordinary people.
Well, Andy Burnham also praised the Hillsborough campaigners, saying that the law would help other victims of tragedies to hold those in power to account. Well, to speak on that note, I'm joined by Emma Webber, her son Barnaby, one of 3 people killed in the Nottingham attacks. Emma, really good to have you on the programme tonight. Thank you so much for coming on to talk about this, because this is a monumental moment for families touched by tragedy, and it's long overdue.
Yeah, it's nearly 40 years. I was just working that out, watching and listening to everything that Margaret said. And I mean, 40 years is a lifetime, isn't it, for many? And it's double the lifetime my son had on this planet. And the fact that we have to pass a law to get those in power to tell the truth is not lost on me, how appalling that is. But yeah, it is a monumental day. But the sad thing is, I was thinking it's a monumental day for tragedies yet to happen. It doesn't really sadly benefit us. It certainly didn't benefit Hillsborough, but families. But it's so important. And rewiring of the state, Mr. Burnham, I think, yeah, rewiring is the beginning of the rewiring. You know, a lot of the plugs are really faulty, aren't they?
Yeah, Andy Burnham listed a number of public scandals, many of them still ongoing, you know, Primados, nuclear test veterans, Grenfell, you know, there are others as well, you know, maternity care we speak so much about here, you know, mums and families fighting for a statutory public inquiry that may yet come their way. And, you know, the Hillsborough family said this isn't about us, it's about those still fighting. What kind of material difference do you think this law will make?
I think once it's implemented, obviously the proof will be in its running and its implementation, and I suppose tested when perhaps those that should be telling the truth and acting with candour and decency don't. It is how thoroughly are they actually held to account, and what ramifications will there be, SJ? But it's significant. It's significant. You know, we've said in our hideous tragedy and the horror that we're still living through is that there's so much broken. Our criminal justice system is broken and doesn't just need sticker plaster now. It needs enormous reform. And this definitely goes a long way towards it, because you know what it will afford? It will afford, for the first time properly, victims to have some rights as well, because it's all in the perpetrator's corner, as we've seen firsthand. And we're lucky, if I use that word, that we have a firm of solicitors and barristers' chambers that offered to support us pro bono, because without them we would not have gotten as far as we have. And I think that's why so many families and voices have been silenced for so long, because it's just almost impossible to navigate. And so thank God for people like Margaret. And I was in London today, ironically, at Parliament, but I got to meet Charlotte Hennessy, and she supported us, and she and I have been in a lot of contact through our inquiry, and it's people like her that really are heroes, and they really do inspire us. And it was just so good to see her today.
Yeah. Keir Starmer talked about a deeper problem in British society. I think you're very well placed to sort of sum up what he was talking about, because you and I have spoken about this before. You have said quite openly, if we didn't have the means, if we weren't white and middle class, we wouldn't have got as far as we would have done. And I think Keir Starmer was alluding to that. There are so many people, this class system, where people are ignored.
Yeah, let me assure you now, I don't see myself as middle class. I genuinely am the most regular Joe. However, the way that we've come together, this unique moment in time with the other two families, the Coates and the Kumars, and just the way things have have happened and unravelled, it's enabled us to have this voice that we have all chosen to use. But I can assure you, SJ, that the way we have been dealt with and the way that we have been dumbed down, pushed aside, insulted, disregarded, is appalling and shameful. So yeah, it is. There's an elitism. There's a culture of closed ranks. That we came across with every single agency at every single juncture, and sadly we still do, despite having a statutory public inquiry. I've just been in London today meeting with leaders of the opposition parties today. It was with Ed Davin, our own MP, but we had a meeting with our lawyers afterwards, and the updates on where we are with the Nottingham inquiry and the fight we're still having with the agencies and the bodies that are there to supposedly regulate them independently. It's jaw-dropping, scandalous stuff, and enough's enough, right? Do we have to garner our own army to face them? I think we probably do.
Yeah, I think Andy Burnham summed it up. He said if an entire city, Liverpool, could be ignored for 2 decades while telling the truth about the deaths of its own people, what other communities have gone unheard? Which voices have been overlooked simply because they lacked power? And the hope is that this law changes all that. And Emma, I think it's worth talking about the frustrations you had, because you and I have spoken about it in light of the Nottingham attacks. I've also touched on it with our coverage here of maternity care, families not being listened to. And if they do get an investigation and inquiry like the Donna Ockington inquiry in Nottinghamshire, again, a trust you know well, those in positions of power simply don't reply to letters, don't answer questions, don't provide evidence. And that's allowed to happen under the current plans.
I think what we're talking about is what we've seen is every single agency failed in our situation. But nobody has been properly held to account yet at any senior level. And I cannot understand how chief constables, assistant chief constables, chief executives of hospital trusts, very senior NHS England managers, ICB managers, they're still in position. And actually, if they haven't taken the opportunity to retire early and get out of town with their golden handshakes, which very many sadly have, the others, and I won't name them on here because it will come out in the course of time, have sometimes been promoted or they just move sideways. And yeah, you're right, they don't answer. They obfuscate, they evade, they defend, or they just downright ignore you, and you're belittled, and you feel so helpless. You still feel, even now with everything that's happened, and even now with what we've uncovered, sometimes you still feel at sea, and you do think, can I do this? Are they doing this to try and wear us down so that eventually we'll give up or die, or they'll retire? Look at the post office.
Yeah.
Look at how long that's taken. Look at Hillsborough, 1989 when that happened. Charlotte Hempsey, who I met today, she was 6 years old when her dad was killed. And now she's a proper grown adult and a proper warrior, but she's, it's taken her entire life to get this today. And it's for the benefit of others. And they deserve every single bit of credit, and every glass of champagne and wine and beer and cider or whatever they're having tonight. And I didn't have to catch an early train back because I'd like to have been with them.
Yeah. Oh, listen, Emma, I really appreciate you coming on tonight to give us your thoughts on the Hillsborough Law. And like you said, too late for your family, too late for the Hillsborough families, but doing it for those who, as you quite rightly pointed out, sadly will be the victims of these kind of public scandals and injustices in the future. Emma, thank you, as always.
Anytime.
Still to come here on the UK Tonight, the £10 billion bill for unused PPE during the pandemic. All the details on the way.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
Who's funnier?
Being a Sky News journalist.
A special edition of The World with me, Yalda Hakim.
Pakistan had the right to respond.
You're like, what?
Historic day here today. Congratulations, this is a huge moment. But what happens now?
The official COVID inquiry has found that almost £10 billion of taxpayers' money was wasted on PPE that couldn't actually be used during the pandemic. Just for comparison, that's half the annual police budget. Well, the inquiry chair, Baroness Hallett, said that the UK entered COVID with its stockpile of masks, gowns and gloves in a perilous state. Our health correspondent Ashish Joshi has more.
The official COVID inquiry has published its 5th report into the UK's pandemic response, and it's been fiercely critical of the government's handling of the health crisis. Baroness Hallett, chair of the inquiry, says the government spent almost £15 billion on personal protective equipment. But almost 2/3 of that, that's £10 billion, was wasted on stock that wasn't even fit for purpose. And this left health workers not only exposed to the infection, but unable to protect their patients. The report has also found systemic failures and inadequate planning caused unnecessary delays in getting ventilators and testing equipment. The high priority lane, also known as the VIP lane, was criticised as being unfair because suppliers with government connections received favourable treatment, and this undermined public trust.
Governments across the UK did not have the systems and processes in place for emergency spending at this scale. The public must be able to trust that their money is being spent by the government with propriety, fairness and transparency.
The government's procurement failure cost millions of pounds, and it cost lives too.
This report lays bare a catastrophic failure of preparedness that cost lives, wasted billions and allowed a privileged few to profit from a national emergency.
The inquiry has made 11 recommendations which it wants implemented straight away. Key points include a radical overhaul of supply chain resilience, an emergency trade strategy treating key healthcare equipment as a national asset, and to improve transparency to restore public trust. The government has described the report as sobering and says it remains committed to learning the lessons needed from the COVID inquiry to protect and prepare us for the future.
Scott Mills was the BBC's highest paid presenter until he was sacked in March. The corporation's annual report shows the former Radio 2 DJ was paid around £745,000 before his exit. After it emerged, he'd been accused of historical sex offences. Sky's arts and entertainment correspondent Katie Spencer has this report.
Look, it's quite the heavy bit of reading, this year's annual report, but scandal, salaries and savings really are the three main takeaways from this. Scandal being, as you say, the top earner this year being none other than Scott Mills, the former BBC Radio 2 presenter, taking over from the top spot that Gary Lineker once held. That figure of £750,000 being actually close to what he ended up taking home before he was sacked. He was sacked just a few days before the end of the financial year. If you take a look at the wider picture of those names that are in the top earners of last year, it really is quite an insight into the BBC's priorities, if you like, and clearly radio is a real priority for the BBC. Those other names in that top 10, Greg James is in at number 2 after Scott Mills with £440,000, Vernon Kay on around about £405,000. Clearly, the BBC views radio as a priority and it's willing to pay for those stars. And it talks in the report about the fact that BBC Sounds generated 2.8 billion plays for it in the UK. In the UK, the BBC is the #1 brand in terms of radio. then there's news. Look, take a look at some of the leading figures within news and what they were paid, making the top 10 list here. Laura Kuenssberg was actually on that same spot as Vernon Kay was in the list, coming in at number 4 in terms of top earners. Justin Webb from Today, Naga Munchetty, Fiona Bruce. Trusted news presenters are taking home a lot of money with the BBC. The question is really, though, how long that might continue for. We know last month when the BBC spoke about the cuts they intend to make, that it's spoken about the fact that senior on-air news roles is something that they're looking into. It is very tough times for the BBC. I know that it's going through charter renewal at the moment, and in this report they talk about the approach of charter renewal going forward. They talk about the fact that they feel that regulatory framework must evolve. To quote them, they say a universal public service must have a universal funding model. Clearly, there is an understanding really in this report that the status quo can't continue as it was. I think we're at a moment where clearly in this report they speak about the fact that this is a moment where the BBC has to reinvent itself to keep up with the changing media landscape at the moment.
And in relation to Scott Mills, we should say that he cooperated with the police investigation and was not charged. Still to come here on the UK Tonight, we'll take a look ahead to tomorrow's monumental clash between England and Argentina at the World Cup with former Three Lions defender Michael Dawson.
Jubilation in the streets, while some emotional.
This is a political victory for Prime Minister Modi and his Hindu Nationalist Party.
I'm Neville Lazarus and I'm Sky's reporter based in Delhi.
Companies like these are helping India in its trajectory to be a serious player in space exploration. Sky News, get the full story first.
This program is delivered by DHL, the official logistics partner of VSL.
Welcome to the DHL Sports Hub on Sky News. Coming up, Scotty Scheffler reveals how missing a cut for the first time in almost 4 years has helped his preparations for this week's Open at Royal Birkdale. And we hear from Arthur Ferry after he's just the 4th wild card in history to make a tennis Grand Slam semi-final at Wimbledon and becomes the new British #1 in the process. But we start with Formula 1 and the World Championship leader Kimi Antonelli, who believes his penalty for exceeding track limits that stopped him from scoring at last week's British Grand Prix was unfair because he didn't gain any advantage from what happened. The Italian ultimately dropped from 2nd to 9th after having to pit twice in the closing stages due to suspension and wheel shield problems. Those issues made turning difficult, and with the race finishing under a safety car and several rivals right behind him, the 5 seconds added for going off track meant he fell further to 16th in the final result. That leaves Antonelli now just 25 points clear of George Russell after he had been 66 points ahead just last month.
I got the penalty, which, I mean, it's the rule, but I find it a bit...
unfair?
Yeah, I mean, because it's okay if you get track limit by going off and gaining, but you know, I couldn't keep the car on track, and in that instant. So, you know, I was trying my best to stay on track, but I just couldn't. But then after the last pit stop, the car felt kind of drivable, I would say. I mean, I was still missing probably, I don't know how many points of downforce. The car wasn't turning in the right corners, not at all.
Well, Russell followed up his race win in Austria with 2nd behind Charles Leclerc at Silverstone, so he's certainly the driver with momentum at Mercedes, but both of them have had reliability issues in recent weeks. And while their efforts mean a lead of 78 points over Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship for now, team principal Toto Wolff is wary of seeing that advantage get smaller.
They have both had the luck and the unluck of DNFing. Kimi now twice, George once. And the season is long, and he just needs to continue to believe that he can do it. finding the, those little gremlins in the car that cause him troubles at the moment.
Kimi's lost a lot of points over the last 3 races, 43 points from Barcelona and here, which is a lot. But you do have the pace. The car is very fast, and it's a winning car pretty much every time you wheel it out.
It's so many points, when you lose 43 points, and then with George it was 25. It's just a lot, and if that continues to accumulate, you can only win a championship if we get this under control.
Leclerc's win last Sunday and Lewis Hamilton's third-place finish means the Ferraris are lurking in the driver standings too. Having been second at 1 point, Hamilton is just 7 points behind Russell, with his teammate 39 further back, but fourth ahead of Lando Norris. Antonelli was quickest in the DHL fastest lap before those car issues set in, as he made it back-to-back victories in that competition for the third time this campaign. His time on lap 37 of 52 was more than 0.3 of a second quicker than Max Verstappen's best effort. Mercedes were also impressive in the DHL fastest pit stop, with Russell's visit of 2.18 seconds, allowing them to extend their overall lead over Ferrari to 50 points, and Racing Bull's 18 points further adrift in third. Leclerc, meanwhile, was a popular driver of the day presented by Salesforce. His first victory in nearly 2 years meant he even outscored home favourite Hamilton in the public vote, taking 26.8% against his teammates' 19%. On to the FIFA World Cup now, and England's bid to reach the final for the first time since they won the competition back in 1966 tomorrow night when they face Argentina in the last 4. It'll be England's second World Cup semi-final in 8 years, and their recent record at major tournaments has been good. They got to the quarter-finals in 2022 and have also been in each of the last 2 European Championship finals. Goalkeeper Jordan Pickford thinks it's now time for Thomas Tuchel's team to use those experiences to go one step further.
We were unfortunate in Qatar against France. I think we were the better side and didn't come out on top on that day. And we've got to take them moments and them moments in your career. Looking back at 2018, and then 2 Euro finals as well. So you've got to take them moments and learn from them. This is our moment to go and play against Argentina and hopefully come out on top, regardless of the rivalry. It's about us being at our best. To get to a final in a World Cup is going to be a great honour, and that's everybody's dream. But we won't look past Wednesday. We know it's going to be a tough opponent, a proud nation with a lot of talent, and it's us versus them on Wednesday, and we need to be our best version of ourselves to get to that opportunity come Sunday.
Someone else building up to one of their sport's biggest events is the American golfer Scottie Scheffler, who looked to defend his Open title at Royal Birkdale this week. He goes into the event having missed the cut at last week's Scottish Open, and it's the first time he's not made it into a weekend at an event for almost 4 years. Scheffler's been explaining why that wasn't necessarily a bad thing.
I rested Friday afternoon. Saturday for us was a travel day. We drove down here, and with 2 kids in the car, that can be exciting, but we survived the drive, and just got settled in here. I came out yesterday, played 18 holes, and I got a little bit of extra prep that I wasn't expecting to have.
Talk about your memories of last year, because I'm going to say you bossed that Open Championship last year. It was an exhibition of golf, but what are your memories of last year?
I mean, I just remember I hit a lot of really quality shots, and Sunday was a day in which I had started with the lead, and I got off to a really nice start. I had maybe that one mistake there on, I think it was maybe the 8th hole. I think I made double, but outside of that, I played some really, really solid golf over the weekend to kind of keep everybody at bay. And it was 4 very solid days of golf, and I didn't make a lot of mistakes. And I just remember on Sunday, because I'd had a similar lead at the PGA in which I lost and had to have a really good back 9, and then on Sunday at the Open Championship, I just got off to a really nice start and had built up a big lead and did a good job of just continuing to press and hold off the guys that were chasing me.
Well, Scheffler would certainly be happy to perform the way Hairan Yu has been in recent weeks. She won a playoff against Brooke Henderson on Sunday at the Evian Championship, giving her consecutive major wins after last month's Women's PGA Championship victory at Hazeltine. Included in her total at the weekend was a brilliant third-round score of 60, the lowest ever recorded at a major championship.
This is just a dream right now, because before the 3 weeks I don't have a major champion, but now at the 2 in a row, so I'm so happy, and I can't believe it right now.
In cricket, Brendan McCullum says he takes full responsibility for the environment surrounding the England Test team and the side's recent poor results. He was sacked from his position as head coach there at the weekend, but will remain in charge of the country's white ball sides.
ultimately you're in charge of the environment, you're in charge of the vision, the direction, the way the team runs, and ultimately you're in charge of the results as well. And when you take jobs like this, you know the level of scrutiny and pressure and expectation that comes with it. And you can't feel sorry for yourself when you haven't been able to get the results that you wanted. So that's how I view it. It doesn't mean you're not gutted about it, but you don't feel for those who support this team that we weren't able to get what we all wanted. But fundamentally, I'm happy to take responsibility for it. I knew that when I took the job, and you know that when you're on the outside.
Now, Yannick Sinner and Linda Noskova were the singles champions at Wimbledon this year, but the player British fans are all talking about is Arthur Ferry, after he became just the 4th ever wildcard to make a Grand Slam semi-final. His run was eventually ended by Alexander Zverev, but only after he'd beaten the likes of Grigor Dimitrov and Flavio Cobolli first. Ferry's risen 78 places to 36th in the world rankings and is the new British #1 as a result.